Don in London, hello. It's January the 18th, 2013. My video's all about addiction to substances and behaviour. My addictive substance, which got me into trouble and I couldn't stop, was alcohol. And my behaviour towards people, places, things, addicted to all the bad things, trying to be perfect with the wrong people in the wrong places, doing the wrong things probably, or not quite as black and white as that. You know, life isn't one way or the other, but it is when it comes to recovery from addiction. We need to stop doing something which is killing us. And I got some professional help, and then they suggested I needed more help on a daily basis to support me in my quest for recovery, or rather just to live in recovery, not look and find it and then wonder what it is, but just simply to live life on life's terms. So I did need help, and I didn't know how to do it on my own. Why should I? Because I was an addict, in denial and insane, driven mad by drink. And it's hard to say those things because it means I had a weakness, which now becomes a strength because I can ask on any day for help to remain sober. And if I put sober first, I have a chance of life working out as best it can. Doesn't mean it's always going to be good, but the good news is that living a truthful, open, honest and willing existence is far better than living a dishonest, closed down and unhelpful existence where I will die sooner rather than later. I'll die in several ways, physically, but before I get there there'll be emotional torture, stuck in a malady which is killing me. So what helped me? Well, the fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, a fellowship which I belong to and I am part of. But I don't speak for AA because AA has no spokespersons, deliberately and rightly, because people cannot speak for other people in the fellowship. Simple as that. And it would behove no one to say this is the right way of recovery and that's the wrong way of recovery, because we find our own particular path of recovery given our life circumstances, which are so different and diverse. Somewhere along the line we're going to hear our own story of what it was like to find ourselves in this problem and this conundrum of addiction, which offers denial and the opportunity to go back to it at any time and somehow remain sober. So life works far better, and reality is far better, because we're living the real life rather than some dazed life which we had before. So I had to change my whole outlook and what I did and how I would make it in life, simply one day at a time. So sober came first, so I could then be part of family, community and society, what was left and open to me, given what had happened. So we can't rub out the past, but we don't have to look back and stare and think, well, we want it all back the way it was, because it can't be the way it was. It's a new way of living, and so just about everything changes. We learn how to love people as they are. We learn about forgiveness of what we did and what people continue to do, and we find a path which works. So fellowship of AA gives me back personal freedom of choices today to be me, and know a little bit more about who I am becoming one day at a time. So I will share the AA Preamble because it helps me slow down into the moment of now and to share what AA is there to do. So here's the AA Preamble, and then some of my words about what's been on my mind this morning, waking up, and just for a day. The AA Preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism, so you get your life back. So we share together so you can do what you want to do, and I can do what I want to do or need to do to keep alive. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. So if you were like me, coming in with nothing and surviving on the coffee and biscuits available for quite a while, you don't put any money in. But if you've got a few pennies, then you do, if you're inclined to. So it's free at the point of source, as it were, or resource. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. So you can have your own life with everything in it, as you desire, need and want as life goes along. And you're only going to fellowship for one thing, which is to remain sober so the rest of life can work. And it's not a cult, and there is no AA pushing you into something. It's what you decide is right for you. Listening to other people, and you'll hear those things which are good for you and those things which don't apply to you. You'll hear nonsense and a lot of common sense and gumption as well. So our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And nobody is there to control you. And if you find somebody who is controlling in AA, leave them to it. Let them be controlling with themselves, and if anybody else wants to be controlled by them, let them get on with it. I tend to avoid those, what would you call them? In desiderata, avoid those persons who are not good for us and undoers. There will be those people because it's real life, and in real life there are such people. But the majority, I have found, are open, honest and willing to help, and help me change my attitudes and behaviour on a daily basis when life goes to crap. So these are my words this morning, and they sort of follow on from yesterday, which was all about this fatal malady that we're in, and how to get out of it. And first and foremost, don't beat yourself up for being an alcoholic or an addict to substances or behaviour. Because around people, places and things we have addictive behaviour as well, trying to be perfect and find the perfect people. They don't exist except in the fantasy that we might have imagined. So it's all about getting back to real life. So January 18th, 2013, AA steps in action, as I call it. And step one is what I concentrate in January: powerlessness over alcohol, and if I were to drink, life would get unmanageable. But I also feel powerless over people, places and things, the addictive people, places and things. So I need to be aware of powerlessness over, not trying to control anything, but to participate in life as an equal. That's how it comes together for me. So today, rigorous honesty. Now that is a tall order, rigorous honesty. How do we get to that? From the little white lie. Yeah, now it is a tall order. From the little white lie, apparently we all tell them from time to time, from Father Christmas to complimented people on their appearance. When they appear to be dressed like a dog's dinner, would we say, "You look like you're dressed like a dog's dinner"? Or saying to a person on their deathbed, "How well you're looking today." Life is full of difficult moments, about telling the truth as you understand it on any given day. Personally, I am hoping to go out with a smile on my face today and on the last day, because it was worth it. It was worth the change to sober first, and the rest of life can happen as it may. So I've got a smile on my face this morning, but I felt a bit disjointed and discombobulated yesterday about talking about fake it to make it, but that's just where rigorous honesty can be so difficult. From the little white lie, you look like a dog's dinner when you're dressed up like that. And I did. I told many white lies. I still do, I feel. Being rigorous and trying to be honest will always be an activity we strive at. We hear people lie all day long, and yet the only way to find out our way out of the conundrum of addiction is to overcome the denial about our malady being fatal progression, and try to get honest about the dangerous situation we face one day at a time. So taking a drink is not an option, but the option is always there. If I get so mad with myself, that could happen, but I need to be aware of what is good for me. And in fellowship, the underlying principles of the 12-step program are about developing an approach of openness, honesty and willingness to change on a daily basis. I was laughing the other day when somebody said in a meeting, every time I open my mouth and speak, a lie seems to come out. And we all have those days where we want to be part of something. Every time I open my mouth and speak, a lie seems to come out, because I can be that person on any given day. Because I want to be humorous and I want to be liked, and I can tell you now, the whole trough of lies, or a whole slew of lies, may pop out inadvertently in my conversations today. Exaggeration, imagination, fantasy, all those are part of those. And they can be lies, because it's not true. I'm a human being and I don't like upsetting people, and sometimes I do because I try to tell the truth, be open, honest and willing to change me, because it's about me changing to the truth and not you today. So I can't tell you it's the right way or the wrong way, because I don't know your situation, and how hard is it to tell the truth, be open, honest and ask for help. In fellowship, we have some good literature which explains how to become a recovering human being. And the literature is not wrong when it says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. And that is absolutely true. Because if you do follow the path and learn about the 12 steps and the 12 traditions, and then put them into practice, you are unlikely to fail. This is the good news. And if we can get to step 7 in the 12 steps of the principles of living, we develop the courage to change, faith in doing the next right thing, and confidence following this path. As you may have noticed, step 7 is some way along in the process of putting the steps into practice, and step 6 is the biggest problem, always returning to the old attitudes and behaviour when life gets difficult. So in my experience in recovery, the path is quite narrow, and people fall off it, down into rock bottom again with alarming frequency. Not because they are bad people, it is because addiction is a place of insanity, and sanity is very difficult to achieve. Because also we are dealing with mad people all around us all the time. The insanity in oblivion take most back into the dark days, and it is something of a miracle if anyone survives into recovery just for a day. The good news is, one day at a time is the total achievement we need to make. Gosh, I do go on, don't I? I write the words, because if I don't write them, I don't know, I can fall off the planet again. Yeah, the good news is, one day at a time is the total achievement we need to make, and progress can keep on happening one day at a time for years and years and years. Well, it's years and years for me. It hasn't got to years and years and years, but for years and years, one day at a time, is progress. And the lies, little white lies, can come tumbling out. The imagination, the fantasy, and I suppose war stories of how it used to be and how it is now. Sometimes a message wrapped up in humour is good, and sometimes a stark message of why did I want to die? Anyway, very often after people share the serenity prayer at the end of the meeting, to the God of your understanding, or the good of your understanding, because nobody's going to impose their faith on you, it's one fellowship about sobriety with many faiths. To the God of your understanding, or the good of your understanding, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, and then add a few extra words about work it, you're worth it, which is about knowing that we are all redeemable, and that if we can forgive ourselves and forgive everyone, everything, every day, we have a chance to keep on this narrow path of recovery just for today. The bugbear is always in our attitude and behaviour. If we keep on fearing life and feeling that we are less than and not worthy of recovery, or not worthy of the voice that we are developing, the voice which keeps us sober, is that we feel the dark days can return in the madness of addiction, and it all starts all over again. So we can step forwards and backwards around what I call step 6, which is the old way of life, exaggerated and unhelpful, or the new way of life, which is about truth, open and honest, courage to change, faith in doing the next right thing, understanding that we have a right to speak for ourselves, and I must never speak for you. What is right for you is right for you. I wouldn't argue with that. And although I have my own opinion, my opinion is not your opinion, and you're fully entitled to yours, absolutely. And truthfully, we can say it all in fellowship. Sometimes we can't say it some other places for whatever reason, and I acknowledge that. And the problem we all face in recovery is that we feel we have our own problems in forgiveness of ourselves. How do we forgive ourselves for the stark truth of addiction and the failure that we feel? And the truth is, if we had started life knowing that alcohol would lead to addiction, we would have denied it because it didn't happen to everybody else, and we would have kept on doing it because that's what everybody else does. But some of us become addicted, and that is a disease or a malady, physically, mentally, and what some people call spiritually. Spiritual is the ability to cope with reality as it is, according to many religious people, and more depending on your belief system. But that's your choice, not mine. Your choice is right for you. What you feel is right for you, in an open, honest way, with integrity, belief and opinion are fully applicable as you see it, and as you develop, you may change to become more deeply embedded in your beliefs, which is absolutely right, and I can be embedded in my beliefs, but I don't know what I believe in yet, so I've got a way to go. I believe in courage to change, faith in doing the next right thing, and confidence growing, and the path working, so I experience the life that is possible for me. So, we have our own problems in forgiveness of ourselves, and an even bigger problem of forgiveness of everyone else involved along the way, from the past and in the present, especially those who followed our old ways and are always available, if they are still alive and in active addiction, to pull us back down into the hell and the oblivion and a sleep from which we will not wake up. I remember the days of not wanting to wake up and drinking more and more, hoping that tomorrow would never come. I wanted to drink myself to death because it was so hard to see the possibility of life working again. If I'm being rigorously honest, I was a hopeless case, a burnt out case, and I did not know how to get out of it. Rigorous honesty. I need to be rigorously honest with myself. If I cannot do something, maybe I can learn and ask for help. If I feel fear in the moment of now, it is okay to share that I am fearful and I don't know the answers. If I pretend to say that I'm okay and I do know the answers, I will get no help, and people will see me either that I'm pretending and let me stew, or they will just simply take no notice, and I will be left stuck in my own dishonesty. And I know yesterday that I said I find it disagreeable when people say fake it to make it as a coping mechanism, and this might have been upsetting. I do not say it to upset you. I share my feelings that truth is better and asking for help, which may or may not come. It is far better telling the truth to oneself, which is good. Telling the truth to other people under circumstances of danger is another matter, and I cannot resolve that for you or me until it happens. So I don't know what real life, I mean, these things work in real life, but there are circumstances where things go a bit, there is horror out there, and there are many dangerous places in the world, including when I step outside my front door. And I know there are circumstances where we work with dishonest people in dishonest situations which need to be left as soon as possible, or we wither and die one way or another. And this is the problem with recovery. It doesn't mean you're going to get the old life back, it means you're going to get a new life today. And some of the things that we used to do in terms of work, romance, finance, all of that might change. Or, well, it could change for the worse temporarily, because we're incapacitated through our drunkenness or our addictions, and then we get our capacities back. But we also get other attitudes and behaviours back which keep us on the straight and narrow. And I don't know whether we become more flexible or inflexible, because I need to forgive everything as it was, how I was, how they were, and I need to be forgiving that I'm learning a new life every single day. And one of the things I had to learn, which was very difficult, was how to say no. As Gandhi said, an emphatic no is better than a half-hearted yes. And I agree with that when it comes to alcohol and the old addictions around people, places and things. I have to say no to it. Or I'm being pulled down by my own inability to get out of the old life. In fellowship, though, I do maintain that truth, open, honest and willing to change will get better results than by asking for help when you do not know what to do. In the big world, and in the big world where life happens, the same principles apply. And so does common sense and gumption. There is no point in making a bad situation worse where we have no power. The only sane thing to do is to get out of Dodge quickly and move on, as soon as possible when it is practical to do so. There is no point in living a lie, because if you go somewhere, live a lie and come back from it, it causes psychosis in the end, because it's an old way of living which is unhelpful and hurting on an emotional and spiritual level, coping with the moment of now and knowing what your feelings are, and then the new life which says it's better this way. So why would I go back to that? But there are practicalities. We don't just turn upside down straight away, or turn right side up straight away. But we are drowning in the old life, and the new life is about survival on a daily basis. Anyway, this is me talking about me. I can't do it for you. Anyway, I would rather tell people I don't know how to do something and ask for help. If I'm ridiculed for not knowing, and I'll tell you what, some people in fellowship have said, well, if you don't know what you're doing some of the time, why are you doing these videos? And the answer is, because I do know what I'm doing with the videos. I'm sharing the truth of now. Sometimes I don't know the answers, and why should I? I'm not an oracle, I'm not a guru, and if you're looking for an oracle and a guru, it will cause you more pain through codependence when people keep on telling you what to do. So anyway, go back to what I'm saying here. I would rather tell people I don't know how to do something and ask for help. If I'm ridiculed for not knowing, I'm in the wrong place. And if I'm put down because I don't know something which is beyond my life experience, if it is beyond my life experience, I say so. Well, that's beyond my life experience. And if people are bullying, yeah, I don't know something which is beyond my life experience, and people are bullying insensitive, cunty-bollock bastards, as I would call them, I would rather move along and leave them to their own shit spiritual experience. I don't have to join in with their shit spiritual experience, and I don't have to join in, that's it. Faking anything, well, it takes the sparkle out of people, makes them look over their shoulders, always on edge and never quite sure who may find us out. I just say, if you find me out, I don't know something, or I'm lacking in some particular sensitivity which is upsetting you, I'd rather know. It's better to know. But at the same time, I have a right to be who I am. So I get found out every day as being in need of help and assistance. I don't mind that. And if I don't know what is right for me, I will have problems working out what is right for you. And absolutely, what you do is none of my business, unless we are engaged in an enterprise together. Fellowship is a joint enterprise. Everyone has equal opportunity to speak the truth, be open, honest and willing to change as they can, and I can. At the same time, a recommendation to be dishonest, closed down and unwilling to change because it's frightening is not going to help keep a person sober today. And if we do not get sober and put sober first, we don't have the opportunity to grow into a new way of life and a new freedom where fear diminishes and faith grows. Just for what? Faith grows for just for today in my experience. Because I too can step backwards into fear when faced with powerful and controlling people. I often feel the rage growing and the desire to chop them to pieces with words which will always remain deep inside them. Some things I wished I had never learned back in the day, and that was how to dismantle people. And I live in London. It gets security threats, and the policemen come from all over the country. London policemen know me, sort of, and what I do in terms of photography. I photograph London streets, street life photography, and I do get stopped by police. If I get stopped by a local London bobby, they sort of know what I'm doing, and I'll show them what's on my camera, and they're very happy with it. An out-of-town policeman from Bolton recently, during the Olympics, was suggesting I was some sort of nutcase, and the urge to correct their attitude and their behaviour was within me, because it felt like I was being put down as some sort of reckless person taking photographs which then could be used for whatever reason he thought might be a security threat or anything else which was going on in his head. So how did I feel about that? I was being judged, and I had an urgent feeling to dismantle this person as a human being for their attitudes and behaviour, but I stopped myself, and the reason why I stopped myself was I can't change him and his attitudes and behaviour, but I can change my attitudes and behaviour, which is forgiveness of where that person was coming from, which was disgusting in my opinion. And looking for a terrorist, it just picked me. I was just a useful person to pick, and I had greeted them earlier, so I'd alerted them to my existence, I guess. So I brought it on myself in many ways by being cheerful and happy. And if you start to be cheerful and happy with an unhappy policeman, don't, is my suggestion. Leave it to it. But I did learn how to take people to pieces and reconstruct them in a helpful way. But the trouble is with that, you also learn the opposite. And that is the worst part of the Fellowship 12 steps. We need to apply them to ourselves and not to other people. Because if we apply the 12-step principles to other people, they can't live up to it because they don't know what we're talking about, and we are judging them when we ought to be judging our own behaviour. And that rageful feeling in me was me judging this policeman by my standards, and the policeman was judging me by his standards. And that hurt me, which caused the rage and the desire to take him apart. But why? What good would it have done? So I don't need to make a bad situation worse. And policemen in London, they are fantastic, generally. Although they have had their problems recently because of Plebgate, but that's a UK thing. Anyway, as M. Scott Peck said, life is difficult in his book The Road Less Travelled. At the same time, and in the first paragraph of the book, he went on to suggest that if we accept life is difficult, rather than saying it is difficult, it ceases to be a problem. Simply we know life is difficult, and that's good enough. And the same is true of recovery for me. And every day life is difficult. I've lived long enough to have a virus and get type 1 diabetes, which led on to understanding why I had chronic depression all my life, and I needed and sought professional help for it, because it's not something the fellowship can solve for you, but you will find lots of good advice being given to you which is not applicable when you share about it. If you need professional help and medical support in whatever nature, I would advise and suggest follow professional advice and utilize the fellowship for what it is there to do. Keep you sober and not take on ideas and ideologies or faith healing. There is nothing worse than somebody who thinks they know how you should behave to deal with your maladies, which are extra and on top of trying to be sober. Thank them very much, and if you feel inclined, suggest that they don't offer advice about things they don't know about, because AA is for sobriety, not for all the other medical conditions that people will have and get and die from. And I say that because I've got, never mind, another day on that one. So, and that's good enough. And the same is true of recovery for me every day. Life is difficult. And life is good sometimes, bad sometimes, and ugly sometimes. And sometimes it's all rolled up together. And I can't work out why some feels good, and in the next breath I feel bad about something, and then I can't sort out the whole ugly mess in my head. So I can spiral into anger and rage about the situation which feels unfair. And I can make it worse by dismantling the other person using the 12 steps as my judgment tool. Or I can look at my own behaviour and see how to resolve the issue, give them all the details, show them all the photos, and get on with life, and show them where the website is, and that'll keep them occupied for a long time, because there's, I don't know, about 75 to 100,000 photos up there, all about street life in London. And it's free to watch and free to download as well. I'm not plugging me, I'm just saying it's there. And that's what stopped them from the yard-long thing they have to fill in. I mean, I'd have been happy, I've got plenty of them. But they know me and my address already, so they just confirm it and say thank you very much, and I go on my way. I don't need to make it worse, just because I feel like it's an ugly mess in my head. And that's the time to pause and ask myself, why am I feeling this way? The order of the process to try work out what I'm feeling, simply what mood I'm in, from being absolutely happy and snapping buildings and people playing, to this ugly mood of rage. So, feeling or mood impacting on my thinking and actions I'm about to take. Feel good, think good, action good. Feel bad, think bad, and action will be bad. Ugly feelings, ugly thinking, and very likely ugly actions. And that makes life difficult one day at a time. Welcome to reality, because we're going to get it all day long. So a great deal of forgiveness. What's my part in it? How do I deal with this situation in a fair-handed, even-handed way, which is that person is going about there, this is my job and I've got to do it. So if you're not beating yourself up mentally for not being able to resolve it to your own judgments and satisfaction, you are less likely to be beating anyone else physically. So if you're not beating yourself up and getting ugly in your head, you're less likely to be beating anyone else physically, and that's just for one day. Because we can go off the rails. You know, it's just very easy. People get very deep inside us very quickly because they hit our angry buttons, our rageful buttons, and it's unjust. How dare you behave like this towards me? And the answer is, in that case, a policeman has an absolute right to stop you and say, what on earth are you up to? Because to me it looks a bit suspicious, and I accept that, I actually do. But the whole point is, if you're taking photos of anything these days, you can be suspicious, and they could think you're anything. And there are a lot of bad people about, so why shouldn't they have that attitude toward me? They don't know until they do a little bit of research, and then it's very obvious what sort of a person I am. What can I say? Anyway, when they hit the recovery websites, which are out there, and the blogs, they probably will think I'm bonkers, and I'm in my own world of whatever it is, which is probably true. Life is better open, honest and willing to change, to listen to people, to listen to, well, hang on a minute, it's okay talking about truth, integrity, honesty, fair dealing, but in the real world, and the answer is in the real world, those principles still apply to yourself, what you do and how you conduct yourself. It's up to you how you want to be with life, and it'd be wrong for me to judge it, because my life is difficult enough, trying to be open, honest and willing, and live to these principles and be okay with everyone around me. If I don't judge people, even though they're judging me, that's fine. As long as I know in my own head I've got my integrity, I'm fair, I'm not doing anything which is undermining the life or living of other people. Being a truth teller is far more okay with me, open, honest and willing, courage, faith, confidence. That's all about going into a new life, letting go all those old patterns of life. But in early days, it's insane. Psychosis happens because it's old life going that way, new life going that way, and in the middle, bang, 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 the head says, old life please, because it was nice and comfy, and I could get out of it by using whatever it was to try and make me feel right, even though it was superficial, and I never really sorted out who I was and what I stood for. So one day at a time, learning about me just a bit more, who I am, what I can do, what I can't do. That's brilliant, because it means I'm coping and living reality, my reality anyway. And it's not for me to judge yours, ever. So, caveat is a bit like buyer beware. Be careful learning about how to tell the truth, how to be open, honest and willing to change your attitudes and behaviour, not the attitudes and behaviour of other people. And those steps are not to judge other people. You will do, because they're very, very useful in helping us understand, do I want to be in that situation with those people, or do I want to follow a new path and make a change where I can live life and cherish and love and be a part of something bigger than me, rather than trying to own it. Nobody owns anything. It's a bit of an illusion, this, because we can't take it with us into the next one, wherever that goes. So live one day at a time, with a smile if you can, and maybe have one on your deathbed too. We don't know when things are going to happen to us. That's what I know. So making the best of this day is always going to be the best it can be. Resolving issues, knowing that we will upset people, and trying to make good when we can. We're not here to judge, control, that's it. We're here to experience and be a part of. And these 12 principles keep me on track one day at a time. So step 1, January, powerless over alcohol, and life will get unmanageable if I drink again. And if I drink again, then I'll be looking for perfection in other people who will like me, down the pub. I don't want to be there anymore. I'm very happy to be sober today, and I hope I don't take a drink all day long. And I'm not ever going to say never. It's one day at a time. We all live in the same day. We all live in the same reality, hopefully, and start to see it as real. The serenity prayer, always at the end, can do, can't do, to God or in good conscience, to the good of life. So whatever it is to you that represents peace and serenity, and a return to sanity on a daily basis, because each day we can be driven mad by circumstances. A restoration to sanity through the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. By the moment, by the minute, by the hour, just for today.